Hi everyone, what a tough day out there in markets, just continuing this straight down price action. Let's take a look at those charts and the data and see if we can find anything for the Monday session. Do me a quick favor and like and subscribe and watch the video till the end to help out the channel, and let's get started. Looking at fear and greed here just for a moment, stepped down to a 51 from a 60, and this has been a pretty big move here. We were up in the 67 to 70 area, and now we've pulled all the way back into the 50s. Lower high here on fear and greed, and you can see neutral now on momentum, extreme fear on strength and breadth as these continue to sell here. Put call ratio spiking back up after hitting that very low level. Volatility spiking back up as well, makes sense. And then safe haven demand back into regular greed, and then junk bonds still have not really moved, still in extreme greed. Moving over to the economic calendar, you can see core and headline retail sales a little bit worse than expectations there. Core at 0.1 versus the 0.3 expectation. The month over month headline was actually a little better at 0.4 versus 0.3. Previous number also revised up pretty strong from 0.4 to 0.8. And you can see the core number there, 0.5 to 1%. So pretty big move on the revisions. Interesting to see that. But the core month over month number, not super great. So a little bit mixed. And this was not super great for markets here today. Obviously, they were downtrending, and this was not enough to change that structure. Moving over to Max Pain. Max Pain's been at 580 all week. We've been warning about it. And sure enough, here today, it came to fruition. We didn't get all the way there, but we got much closer, falling down to 586. You can see that here is still 1% lower from current price, but it was about 2.5% yesterday, so we fell a little bit more than half of the distance. And then you can see here into next week, relatively bullish, relatively higher max pains out until the 14 days from now, and then a little bit further, 35 days from now. Still some bearishness out there, but in the short term, we should see a little bit of a pop into the Monday, Tuesday. We'll see how it plays out. And then looking at the charts for that quick roll up before we get into the weekend, you can see it was trending down all day yesterday, all day today, until that slight bounce here at the end of the session, right to the level, 585.91. We closed technically below it. The closing price was 585.75, but we did pull back to it in the after hours. Volume was bullish in the end of the session, so closing that position, in my opinion. We talked about it here. Once the trend line broke, we should have expected a bigger move down into this 585 area, at least the 200, and we did move to that area very quickly. Now we're finding a little bit of a bounce into the end of the session, waiting to see if this holds up. My guess is Monday, Tuesday, we see a little bit of sideways chop, pull back in time, and then we'll see either a short-term rally, lower high setup potentially, or we're just going to get this straight continuation down into this 55 EMA all the way down at 572. Seems less likely, but the volume here today was a lot. You can see nearly 76 million on the big selling, so maybe there's a little bit more left in it. 21 EMA was your support as well. Once that got touched, that was pretty much the bottom of markets. VWAP in there as well, 584.51. And then looking at the 4-hour just for a moment, you can see that 144 EMA here on the 4-hour chart. That was at 584.16, touched that level, caught a little bit of a bounce. Again, huge volume, big volume spikes. Usually once you get a big move and a volume spike at the end, that usually signals the end of that kind of move. And you can see the big volume spike was on that 10 o'clock candle here, right at that level. And then the 2 o'clock candle, big volume there as well, which was a slightly bullish candle. So maybe this sell was short-lived and we're now into that zone of support and we see a little bit of a pullback here, or we get a continuation to a higher low. Remember, this is still a low, higher low setup if it ends up holding in this area. So still very much a medium-term uptrend, waiting to see if this rallies up, or if it breaks through from here, we're probably headed back down to these lows, at least back in the 570 area. Then moving over to the NASDAQ, even worse, down 2.38%. You can see straight down, really big candles as well, broke right through 498.44 through all of this consolidation of trends and EMAs. We said, again, once this broke here, we were expecting that bigger move down at least to this level, ended up pushing through there. The support was the highly traded zone here on the daily chart, which was 495.96, basically 496 in there, overthrew it slightly. Again, huge volume on the selling, not at all what you wanted to see. At this point, you would expect at least a gap fill here back to the Tuesday. 492 is that level. We'll see how that ends up playing. But again, found a little bit of a bounce at the end of the session. Maybe we get at least a pullback in time, or a slight retracement. Remember, still very much a medium-term uptrend, still coming off of a higher high. So you would expect a higher low potentially in here. Your next support is 492. See how that plays out. Again, super extended. Got all the way down to a 12 0.16 on the hourly. I don't know if I've ever seen the RSI that low on the hourly chart. Very, very low, very, very oversold in my opinion, but momentum still rolling down. Zone of support, we'll see how it plays out. Maybe this is starting to be a little bit of a distribution, choppiness, fake out, breakout, choppiness to go, and then we'll see what happens. Either way, medium term bullish, short term bearish. Then moving over to the Tasty charts here just for a moment, you can see extended well below that 144 EMA, so this doesn't look nearly as good. Again, big volume on that 10 o'clock candle, so interesting to see that. ATR trailing stop right now at 505.38. Pretty close, actually. I wouldn't be surprised to see stocks rally back up into that area, maybe find resistance in there, and then we'll see. But very, very extended, well below that lowest ATR band. Usually when that happens, you do get either a pullback in time, you can see it here, pullback consolidation back into the middle of the range, and then you'll see either a change in direction or a continuation to that lowest band. So for now, I would expect sideways consolidation just based off of the extension levels. Moving over to the Russell and the Dow, the Russell is down 1.5%, actually less than the NASDAQ. Interesting, not usually what you see there. But we did break some of the levels. 232 broke. We were technically below it yesterday, but we popped above it in the pre-market and then sold. And then right through 229.18, so the support actually was VWAP there at 228.58, right there. Closing price 228.48, and you can see in the after hours bouncing just a couple of pennies there. Momentum still bearish, RSI still bearish. At this point, your support's the 21 if VWAP breaks, which is at 226.67, and then the trend all in here, 225.90, 226.02, somewhere in here. Zone of support right at the previous highs as well as a potential area. And then looking at the Dow, not sure what's going on with the indicators here, maybe something up with the trading view charts, but for now, trend support 429.77 continues to fall, down only 0.67, very close to these previous highs. We're right at the lows from the Wednesday session. Maybe that's a zone that matters, but for now I would be looking at the trend here unless we start to see some kind of sideways consolidation, retracement, but for now, doesn't look super great. Moving over to Apple and Microsoft, these did exactly what you would expect with the big selling day. Apple fell to the support at 224.36, so this is now a retest of the 21 and a rejection from there. Momentum still flat, RSI still at the SMA, not below it, but we'll see how it plays out. Looks like a double top, looks like a rejection from here. Could just be a little bit of a wedging action with a low, higher low. Now you have a double top at this level, so still no clear direction, but I would say bearish at least a little bit. And then looking at Microsoft, this has been in this sideways consolidation for a long time, but now you have a low, a high, lower high with a low, lower low. If this falls here back down into this 402 area, I think this is going to accelerate. Got very, very close to my level. The low of the day was 413.64. My level is 413.36. You can see we almost hit this trend line in here. Momentum stepping down. Maybe this is finally the move that we've been watching, been waiting for. You can see it here. This is the structure. If it does fall into this area, that would take us all the way down into the 381 area. So something to watch for. Microsoft, it's been in this same trading range for a long time, since July. But if it starts to break and give some clear direction, I would say it's most likely going to go to the downside. And then moving over to Amazon and Alphabet, both of these falling substantially, 4.19 and 1.95% respectively. Alphabet actually holding up fairly well at VWAP in the 21 EMA, with Amazon falling all the way back to the level at 255 cents. Momentum breaking down, RSI breaking down, big volume on the sell. See how it plays out. Let's go ahead and extend this trend line. We'll give that some structure here. Maybe it falls a little bit lower, 197.30. 21 EMA, VWAP in there. We didn't quite touch those the way that Alphabet did. And then your next support here for Alphabet is that 170.95 level. Either way, both of these are slightly bearish going into the Monday, but maybe we get that little bit of consolidation, higher low setup. We'll see. Moving over to Breadth, 4 solid days in a row on 20-day, 50-day, also selling with that one pause candle, momentum moving lower, RSIs moving lower, getting into almost a zone of support at 51.75 on the 20, and then the level here, 52.81 here on the 50-day. Either way, though, this is a high, lower high, lower high, waiting for a low, potentially lower low into the 40s. This is where I thought we were going initially. Just seems like it was too far to go on the first push. Now we're going to retrace, lower high, bigger sell. So Interesting to see that, but that's likely what's going to happen. If we extend this out a little bit, that gives you some kind of support in here around 50.35. Either way, though, likely to go lower until we hit some zones of support, and then we'll see what happens. Moving over to the dollar was actually not driving price here today. You can see it's been a straight rocket ship to the upside. We hit this resistance at 106.84, and now it has not really gone higher from there. Momentum stepping down, and obviously it was super overbought. You can see this kind of consolidation at the resistance. So maybe this is finally going to pull back a little bit, maybe give equities a little bit of room. But again, interesting to see the dollar pulling back with equities pulling back. The dollar and equities seem to be moving in the same direction, which is still weird. Moving over to the volatility index, you can see a spike here, 12.8%. We expected it to go. Momentum stepped to bullish yesterday, continued to go here today. High was at 1755, thought we might get to the 1850 level. Still think it's going to go a little bit further. Still looks bullish to me, and I do think we'll get into this zone here, and then we'll see what happens after that. Everything still looks bullish going into the Monday and probably the Tuesday. Moving over to my accounts, I lost definitely some money, but not as bad as it could have been. I took off most of my positions pretty early, and I was able to mitigate some of those losses. I did put on some positions towards the end of the day. You can see this put at 494 in a small profit. I'm put this in because I think we're going to get sideways choppy for the Monday. Mondays have been low volume. We're definitely extended. We'll see how that plays out. And then the IWM 228 here for the Tuesday session for $1 credit there as well. So that's a buy price of 227. Of course, I'll be watching markets closely, and I still mitigated most of the losses. Obviously, this would have been a huge catastrophe if I had lost $12 a share on 200 shares. That would have been $2,400, and I only ended up losing about $700 in that account. So you like to see it. And then my Roth, 150 on the day. The Russell was down $3, and I did make money on that XOP position, and I did take it off pretty early in the session as oil started to sell off. So still being cautious, and I can roll these out if I need to, but I think we'll get sideways choppy action for 1, maybe 2 days, and that's really what I'm looking for here. Let me know down in the comment section what you thought of the charts today. What are you doing in this everything sell? Are you looking to buy anything, or are you just going with the flow to the downside? Otherwise, like and subscribe if you got any value out of this video, and make sure you hit the bell so you don't miss out on any future episodes. Of course, none of this is financial advice. This is all for entertainment purposes. Good luck in your trading and have a great day.